You ever notice how campaign season feels like that time of year when everyone suddenly becomes an expert in everything? Overnight, your neighbor who couldn't explain how a toaster works is now a policy analyst, an economist, and a constitutional scholar because they watched half of a debate and read one meme. Campaigns thrive on this moment. It's their Super Bowl of storytelling, except the referees are asleep and the scoreboard is broken. We used to think lying in politics was an occasional scandal, something rare, like spotting a UFO or a politician paying for their own lunch. But now it's practically a line item in the campaign budget. The old school fibs, those polite, gentlemanly exaggerations like "I will balance the budget in 4 years," or "I never read the polls," feel almost charming compared to today's industrial-grade deception. Back then, you had to at least work at lying. You needed a press conference, a nervous sweat, maybe a cigar. Now you can just tweet your way into a whole new reality. The problem isn't just that politicians lie, it's that they've gotten so efficient at it. There's a kind of innovation at play here. They've turned the art of deception into a scalable product. Campaign strategists sit around in rooms with whiteboards and say things like, "What if we call it a truth, a adjusted statement instead of a lie?" And everyone nods because it sounds sophisticated. It's like watching a detergent commercial, but instead of removing stains, it removes accountability. The real genius, though, is how they've learned to disguise lies as emotional comfort. Campaigns don't just sell policies anymore. They sell feelings. You're not voting for a platform, you're buying a vibe, and vibes are tricky things. They don't have to be factual. They just have to feel right. They've found that if they can get you angry, inspired, or nostalgic enough, the truth doesn't really matter. It's like seasoning food. You can burn the whole dish, but if you dump enough sauce on it, people still go back for seconds. It's almost poetic how predictable it is. The playbook hasn't changed much since the 60s, but the delivery system has. A century ago, a politician might stand on a wooden crate, shouting to a handful of farmers about how they're going to lower the cost of wheat. Today, they shout to millions online about how they're going to fix everything, and half the audience retweets it before even asking what everything means. The speed of modern campaigning has turned lying into a reflex, not a decision. And the public, bless us all, we've become strangely complicit. We've gotten so used to the inflation of deception that we almost expect it, like seeing batteries not included on a toy box. When a politician doesn't lie, we squint suspiciously like, "What's the catch?" That's how upside down things have become, but there's a strange beauty in this circus. Every campaign season, it's as if the country collectively agrees to suspend disbelief for a few months. The rallies are staged like rock concerts. The slogans sound like shampoo commercials. The candidates have that same gleam in their eyes, half hope, half caffeine overdose. They promise a future so bright it could blind you, and for a moment you almost want to believe them. Then, of course, reality hits, usually about 3 months after the election, when you realize that lowering taxes actually meant raising fees, and transparency meant we'll send you a newsletter. It's the inflation of deception. Once upon a time, a campaign could get away with 1 or 2 lies per news cycle. Now they need dozens just to stay competitive. It's like printing more money. Eventually, you devalue the product, only now the product is truth. We've got a truth deficit, and nobody's trying to balance that budget. The saddest part is that the lies have gotten lazier. You'd think with all the consultants and communications degrees, they'd be better at this by now. But no. The lies are copy-pasted, recycled, sometimes even plagiarized. You'll hear the same promise word for word from candidates on opposite sides of the country. It's like they're all reading from the same script, and we're sitting here pretending it's a live performance. What's wild is that campaigns still call these moments gaffes when they're caught. Oh, that was a misstatement, they'll say, as if they accidentally tripped over a truth on the way to the microphone. But a gaffe implies an accident. When you repeat the same misstatement 3 times in 1 week, it's no longer an accident. It's choreography. Of course, not every lie is malicious. Some are almost sweet in their delusion. There's the "I feel your pain" lie, where a millionaire tells you they understand the price of bread. There's the "we're listening" lie, when a campaign launches yet another committee that will meet exactly once. And then there's the "this time will be different" lie, which, honestly, should come with its own laugh track. And we, the voters, we applaud these lines as if we're at a stand-up show. We laugh, we clap, we post our favorite moments online. The campaign trail has become performance art. Every handshake, every town hall, every perfectly timed Tyrwhitt's theater. And theater needs drama. Truth, sadly, doesn't make good drama. Lies, on the other hand, sell tickets. What's remarkable is that this inflation of deception hasn't made people more cynical. It's made them more tribal. Instead of demanding truth, we demand loyalty. It's not about who's lying anymore. It's about who's lying for our side. We don't fact-check, we cheer. We've traded civic duty for emotional satisfaction, and the campaigns are only too happy to keep the popcorn coming. Yet deep down we know the promises are airbrushed, the numbers are fuzzy, the slogans are hollow. But the thing about human nature is, we want to believe. We crave hope even if it comes wrapped in half-truths. Campaigns understand this perfectly. They don't need to convince us that everything they say is true. They just need to convince us that the other guy is worse. It's a brilliant trick, really. They turn the moral high ground into a marketplace. So here we are, in the golden age of the truth light campaign. It's got all the flavor of honesty with none of the pesky calories of accountability. Every election season feels like a supermarket aisle filled with products boasting now with 30% more. More passion, more slogans, and of course more lies. And maybe that's the joke we've all signed up for. We pretend to take the promises seriously, they pretend to mean them, and the cycle keeps spinning. It's the great unwritten contract of democracy. They lie beautifully, and we believe selectively. But the punchline is simple, and it's one worth sitting with. Because at the end of all the slogans and smiles and statistics, there's still one stubborn truth left standing. The truth doesn't need advertising. Remember when political debates used to happen in living rooms, usually between 2 people who knew each other well enough to disagree politely, like your uncle and that one neighbor who always wore socks with sandals. Those were the days. People could argue, roll their eyes, and still borrow sugar the next morning. Fast forward to the digital age, and now we don't debate, we broadcast, and instead of borrowing sugar, we block each other. It's all thanks to the miracle of the modern algorithm. You know, that mysterious creature that lives in your phone and decides what you get to believe today. It's like an invisible butler who constantly whispers, "Would sir care for another serving of outrage?" The algorithm doesn't care who's right. It just wants to keep you scrolling, and campaigns, oh, they figured that out faster than a toddler figures out where the candy drawer is. You see, back in the good old days, let's say around the early 2000s, campaigns had to work for attention. They'd print signs, call voters, maybe even show up at your door with a smile that looked only slightly terrified. It was a human process. Now, a clever post and a few thousand fake followers can do the job of an entire volunteer team. Algorithms have turned political persuasion into digital performance art. It's all about feeding the machine. Every like, every share, every emoji is another data point. Campaigns don't just want your vote. They want your behavioral patterns. They study what makes you laugh, what makes you mad, and what kind of dog videos make you tear up at 2 a.m. Then they wrap their message in exactly the flavor of emotion you can't resist. The result: the perfect lie served to you like a personalized ad for chaos. And the wild thing is, you think you're in control. You think you're doing your own research. But the internet doesn't give you research. It gives you confirmation. The algorithm says, "Oh, you liked that one video about how taxes are evil. Here's 7 more videos explaining why taxes were invented by lizards." Before you know it, you're convinced your toaster is a government spy. Campaigns love this echo chamber effect because it's efficient. They don't have to convince everyone, just enough people inside a digital bubble. They micro-target messages so precisely that 2 neighbors can be living in parallel realities. One sees a candidate as a savior of humanity. The other sees the same person as a walking scandal. It's like the same movie playing on 2 screens, but one's a comedy and the other's a horror film. What's amazing is how the algorithm rewards emotional drama over logical discussion. Truth moves slow, lies move fast, and outrage gets prime placement at the top of your feed. It's like an all-you-can-eat buffet of fury. Every swipe, every click tells the system, yes, please, more of that righteous anger. You end up living inside a personalized soap opera where everyone who agrees with you is a genius and everyone who doesn't is clearly an alien. The platforms pretend to be neutral. We just connect people, they say. But let's be honest, they connect us the same way bumper cars connect at a carnival. Campaigns saw this happening and thought, perfect. We can turn politics into entertainment. And that's exactly what they did. Every viral post, every staged photo, every accidental, leaked video, it's all part of the performance. The algorithm doesn't just spread information, it rewards spectacle. The craziest part, the more extreme something sounds, the more attention it gets. The algorithm doesn't have a conscience. It's a hype machine. It doesn't whisper, "Hey, this might not be true." It shouts, "People are arguing, fantastic, let's show it to everyone." The more divided people get, the more time they spend online, and the more money campaigns pour into ads. It's the perfect circle of digital dysfunction, and we've all fallen for it. We all think we're smarter than the system, but have you ever tried to argue politics online? It's like trying to teach a goldfish to play chess. Nobody changes their mind. Everyone just gets louder. You post a thoughtful comment, and within minutes, 12 strangers have called you everything but your name. You log off feeling like you lost a fight you didn't even sign up for. That's not democracy, it's digital dodgeball. What's really funny is how the algorithm has turned everyone into a mini campaigner. You post something political and suddenly you're an activist. Your aunt shares a meme with a quote that no one ever said, and she's convinced she's saving the nation. It's participation without verification. Everyone's a hero in their own curated storyline. Campaigns exploit this perfectly. They don't need to lie directly anymore. They just let you do it for them. They drop the seeds, and the echo chamber does the rest. By the time the truth shows up, it's outnumbered by 1,000 identical posts and 1,000,000 comments saying, "Well, I heard." It's like trying to stop a rumor in a high school cafeteria. It spreads faster than free pizza. And what's truly fascinating is how the internet makes everyone feel informed, even when they're not. Back in the day, if someone said, "I read it in the paper," that meant something. Now, "I saw it online," could mean literally anything, from a reputable journalist to a guy named Doug with a webcam and a pet ferret. Yet both sound equally convincing on a smartphone screen. It's easy to laugh at it because it is funny, but it's also a little tragic. We've built a communication system where accuracy competes with popularity, and popularity wins every time. The result is an infinite loop of exaggeration. Every side is convinced they're uncovering the truth, while the algorithm quietly whispers, yes, yes, argue more. Engagement is up 200%. Imagine if campaign ads were honest about it. Vote for me. I'm the top result in your algorithm. Or our message tested 12% better with people who like cat videos. It would almost be refreshing in its honesty. But of course, they'd never admit it, because the illusion is part of the game. The algorithm gives campaigns plausible deniability. They can always say, we're just reaching voters, while the system does the heavy lifting of amplifying division. The funniest irony of all is that the internet was supposed to connect us. That was the dream, a global village where people shared ideas, learned from each other, built bridges. Instead, we got digital cultus, tiny bubbles of belief where everyone nods in agreement and nobody checks the facts. We didn't build bridges, we built echo chambers with Wi-Fi. And so, the great political show continues. The candidates perform, the algorithms promote, and the rest of us scroll. Campaigns no longer need the big speech or the dramatic debate moment. They just need the right clip at the right time in the right feed. Politics has become content, and content doesn't need truth. It just needs clicks. The irony is almost poetic. The very tools that promised to democratize information have instead industrialized manipulation. The algorithm doesn't lie, but it makes lies louder. It doesn't choose sides. It just chooses engagement. And somewhere between the likes and the hashtags, democracy got reduced to a trending topic. Because when every click rewards a better lie, the truth doesn't just lose, it gets unfollowed. At some point, every voter has that moment during campaign season. You know the one. You're sitting there, remote in hand, watching a candidate stare soulfully into the camera, talking about hope, hard work, and the American spirit. And you think to yourself, didn't someone say this exact same thing 4 years ago, and 8 years before that? You check, and sure enough, it's like the same speech with the names swapped out. It's the political version of leftover casserole. Same ingredients, just reheated with new garnish. That's when it hits you. We can't keep blaming campaigns for lying if we keep falling for the same script. It's like complaining about a magician pulling rabbits out of hats while still clapping every time it happens. The real counterattack, the only real one, isn't louder shouting or more memes. It's learning how not to be fooled, because campaigns will always do what works, and what works is whatever we keep rewarding. Now, before anyone groans, don't worry, I'm not about to launch into a lecture about civic duty. Like it's a high school assembly. This isn't about guilt, tripping anyone. This is about survival. Because in the age of 30% more lies, the only way to stay sane is to upgrade your nonsense detector. It's like putting on glasses after years of squinting. You finally see all the fine print they've been hiding. The first step of the voters' counterattack is to accept that politicians will never, ever stop exaggerating. Expecting them to tell the truth all the time is like expecting a cat to do your taxes. It's not in their nature. The goal isn't to find the one who never lies. It's to find the one who lies the least and still looks like they might show up to work on time. But the real trick is this. Stop being an audience and start being an editor. Campaigns feed us stories, slick, emotional, pre-tested tales designed to bypass our brains and land directly in our feelings. They make us angry, inspired, terrified, or all three at once. So when you hear a promise that sounds too perfect, too heroic, too cinematic, pause. That's not policy, that's marketing. It's a political commercial with a soundtrack. Ask yourself, what's the fine print? Who benefits if I believe this? And why does this music sound suspiciously like it came from a toothpaste ad? The next weapon in the voter's arsenal is curiosity. Real curiosity, not the kind where you scroll for 45 seconds and say, "I did my research." No, I mean the kind that makes you read things you don't already agree with, because that's where truth hides, in the uncomfortable corners. The internet made it easier than ever to find information, but it also made it easier to find only the information that hugs your world. You like a warm blanket. Break the bubble. Read the boring stuff. It's less exciting than a viral post, but it's also less likely to make you look like you just shared an article written by someone's dog. And let's talk about media literacy for a second. Not the fancy academic version, but the everyday kind. If an article uses 12 exclamation marks and 3 pictures of people yelling, maybe it's not journalism. If a candidate's ad says, "My opponent wants to destroy everything you love," maybe, just maybe, there's more to the story. The counterattack isn't about being cynical. It's about being skeptical with style. Think of yourself as a detective in a trench coat, sipping coffee, raising one eyebrow at every headline, the best part. Once you start seeing through the show, it actually becomes kind of funny. You start noticing patterns. Every election there's the common sense plan, the bold vision, the historic change, and of course the ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Montage usually with a farmer, a nurse, and a golden retriever. It's like political Mad Libs. You could make a drinking game out of it, though I wouldn't recommend it. You'd never make it past the first debate. Still, the voters' counterattack isn't just about spotting lies. It's about demanding better. Campaigns run on feedback. If voters keep rewarding drama, they'll keep giving us drama. But if we reward honesty, if we actually show up for candidates who speak plainly, admit mistakes, or dare to say, "I don't know," then maybe, just maybe, we start shifting the incentives. The truth doesn't trend as easily as scandal, but it lasts longer. And here's the part nobody tells you. Democracy's biggest weapon isn't voting. It's paying attention after voting. Campaigns are temporary. Governance is the sequel. Too many people think Election Day is the finale when really it's just episode 1. Politicians count on our short attention spans. They know we'll be fired up in October and half asleep by February, but the voters' counterattack means showing up even when the cameras are gone, holding receipts. Remembering promises, asking follow-up questions like an annoying customer at a restaurant. "Excuse me, I ordered transparency. This looks like spin." Of course, it's exhausting. Democracy's messy, slow, and occasionally ridiculous. But think about the alternative, letting the same recycled slogans steer the ship. The voters' counterattack doesn't need to be dramatic. It just needs to be consistent. Every small act of awareness, every skeptical question, every polite refusal to share that one wild rumor, that's resistance in its purest, funniest form. And you don't need a cape or a protest sign to do it. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, "Wait, that doesn't sound right," before the lie makes its way around the neighborhood. It's not glamorous, but it's powerful, because lies multiply fast, but so does laughter. And once people start laughing at a bad lie, its power vanishes. That's the voter's secret weapon, humor. The ability to look at a ridiculous promise and say, "Oh sure, and I suppose you'll fix the weather too." Nothing deflates a puffed-up campaign line faster than a well-timed joke. In the end, the voters' counterattack isn't about overthrowing anything. It's about outsmarting the script. It's about treating politics like what it's become, a show, only now we're not the audience, we're the critics. We get to review the performance, call out the plot holes, and decide who deserves another season. Campaigns may have 30% more lies, but voters can have 100% more wit. And maybe that's what saves us, not outrage, not algorithms, but a collective refusal to take the theater too seriously. Because once you stop being dazzled by the lights, you can finally see who's really holding the spotlight.